Hi and welcome. My name is Liz and I wanted to share with you today a mindfulness exercise dealing with trees. And before we begin, if there's things that you want to watch after or before, what I would recommend is on National Geographic, you can find on YouTube, there's something called How Trees Talk Secretly to Each Other, which is a really good one. And either this could be after or before to go on an excursion or a walk, or to look outside the window or in your backyard for a tree, a branch, something, and to get yourself some pencils, a crayon, anything to draw on. It'd be great to sit under a tree. It's a very unusual view. And when you're going to draw, I want you to remember that you're not looking at your drawing while you're drawing. So you are watching and looking at branches, and as you draw, you don't look down at your paper. You're just basically trying to follow lines. So I'll show you an example of what I did today. So here you go. So those only listening, you just get to pause for a second as I show this. So I wasn't looking, maybe afterwards, little bits here and there, but just this was with charcoal, but you can use really anything to get the same effect. And the trick is also not to judge yourself. That's an exercise in itself, I think, and an important one, to be out in nature, to be observing, and to draw. And you can do anything with that drawing afterwards. You can share it, you can put it up in a public place. You don't even have to sign it, but maybe on a photo or bus booth, but something that would allow you to share it without people knowing, but it's a way to build connection when it's difficult to be doing that right now in a physical way. So you can post it. Social media is not always so friendly, so I would suggest actually just in an anonymous place maybe be the best option. Something you can listen to help relax would be, my suggestion would be a song by Ben Howard. You can find it on YouTube as well, called Old Pine, and it's just beautiful to just look at and watch. So that would be another recommendation. The Wind in the Trees, a YouTube 10 hours of video. So this is what you're watching right now too behind me. And also, if you were to try and spot as many trees as you can, finding your own songs or inspiration, poems, and so forth. I was particularly inspired today by a quote I found, which I'll read it to you before we begin. It says, "The trees know that you can be still and grow at the same time." Chris McGowan. So, to begin, I'm just gonna ask you to sit comfortably. If this is something you're listening to before bed, that's totally fine too. Just to relax, be still. Chances are it might be easier to find a quiet place now than it was before. Maybe it's not, and that's okay too. So what you're gonna do though is comfortably sitting, if you can. You're going to close your eyes, and this is called a loving kindness meditation. If you're take part in any faith, you can also see it as a prayer and a prayer for others. One thing that the video shows about how trees secretly talk to each other is about how their roots in the ground are connecting with the other trees around them. So while they remain pretty solid and pretty separate from the other trees and aren't necessarily touching or being able to be even seen by them, because I don't think trees have eyes, it's that they are still present and connected in hidden ways. And in a time like now, we have to be definitely more creative, but it is important to stay connected. And sometimes without maybe even hearing from other people, we are still thinking about them. And sometimes that can be consuming though, in terms of the worry, and not being able to do anything with that worry. And yeah, so this is kind of a time to take for that, a concentrated time to take for that. And yeah, so being still, closing your eyes or not, we take this time and kind of signify that it's our time to be reaching out to others. So if your feet are planted on the ground, imagining that your feet are actually sinking in and your toes are feeling very solid on the ground, or if you're lying down, it's your back and legs sinking in and rooting in. And so it would be a good way to start would be to be thinking about people who we care about and aren't necessarily able to see. Right now we're limited from visiting anyone over 70 years old, so it might be hard to wonder how they're doing, and sometimes they're not so connected with social technology. So let's think of them and let's say a couple phrases for them or prayers for them, saying, thinking of people and saying, may you be safe. May you feel connections. And boldly, may you feel the love that I have for you. And so let's say that again. May you be safe. May you feel connections. And may you deeply, in your roots, know the love that I have for you. And say it again. May you be safe. May you feel connections. And may you know deeply the love that I have for you. And you can keep going with that if you'd like. I think it could take quite a lot of time to just, in stillness, think about that and bring those people to mind. The thing about our worries for other people is feeling stuck in the helplessness of it and that effect on us sometimes, and just the helplessness, really. So it is important to intentionally try and still connect. If you are going to do a drawing or write a poem or something, listen to a song, maybe share that with other people too, and why that meant something to you. Now feeling again the ground and our rootedness in the ground. Now we're going to move to our arms and kind of, I'd like, if I'm reaching out to you like this, it might look silly. I'm actually feeling sick, so I actually can't be around people right now. I'm in self-isolation, I guess you can say. So this is me trying to reach out to other people, and I think it would be a good thing to try and do that yourself. You can send videos and send this out like this too. Certainly little kids love it. But if you were to sit and throw your arms out to whatever side, if it's not too heavy, to hold them up like that. If not, you can kind of sit them out in an offering of sorts, and think of people outside of your circle that may be feeling quite lonely right now, that don't know those connections, that are scared. And let's think about them and say a similar phrase. Let's say, may you be safe, may you feel connection, and may you be rooted in this common love. So say that again. May you be safe. May you feel connections. And may you also be rooted in this common love. And maybe it's just something that you see walking by, if they're walking by your house as you look out the window, or if you're out strolling and seeing at a distance, it would be good to wish that on other people, that may they be safe. May they feel connection, and may they be rooted and grounded in knowing there is a common connection and love between us all. I want to bring up friends of mine and people that I'm concerned about in New York, which isn't really very far from us. And I spent some time there recently connecting to people who share this interest in mindfulness. And New York is so densely populated that there is kind of an understanding that the virus is already really widespread, which I assume must evoke a lot of fear. And this idea of social distancing that we are now all speaking about, it doesn't mean isolating maybe in a physical way, but it doesn't mean it in an emotional way. And for someone who can be prone to anxiety or depression, it's really important for us to keep connecting. So let's think of New York for today. May people in the city be safe. May they feel connection, and may they know that even in a totally separate city, we are thinking of them, and we want to be connected with them. Let me physically reach out like this. Shooting this out, hopefully, out of my hands, like branches. See, like that. If I were to reach out, it was actually probably a good yoga pose, reaching out. So I just want to encourage you to do the same, to connect to other people, to embrace certain things about, I'm trying to, about being in isolation of sorts. Embracing my creative side. I haven't drawn in a long time, and I took the opportunity today too with my son to draw together. He's 2.5, so I don't know if this is too big, but we drew this together. I don't know if you see this. We got all lathered up with paint. He said that all the red was apples. So there's definitely some fun things to be able to be done. And no, it doesn't need to be on a canvas. I just happen to have one ready. But I want to thank you for taking this time with me. Encourage you to maybe think about ways that you will stay connected with others and keep your grounding. So in mindfulness, we like to say you choose an anchor, something to help you remain back in the present moment. So thinking or listening to trees, putting your feet and feeling them on the ground, or your body sinking into the ground. And the second part is really it's this loving kindness meditation. And in beliefs like Christianity, we can see it as a prayer for others. So I encourage you to do that. Like if you're feeling that nervousness and also frustration, use that time, come back to the present. It's probably a good idea to be limiting how much you're listening to the news in the day. I'm basically choosing to try and limit it to one update a day. And then after that, taking time, especially to be thinking about others, either in prayer or in loving kindness meditation, so that I can then get on with my day. I'm not trying not to be cold about it, but it's just, it can feel quite, helpless, or a lot of despair in there. But I think we have an opportunity to embrace some of the stillness, some of this adventure in time for those who can be too, with family, and remembering together that the trees know that you can be still, and grow at the same time. Chris McGowan. Thank you again, and yeah, hope to see you again.